This is Mac OS Ken.
Anticipating Apple's June quarter earnings, an apparent delay for Apple from the Senate, and more talent for Apple's car project. It is Thursday, the 28th of July, 2022. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Learn more and check your rate at upstart.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Collide, Endpoint security powered by people. A lot of times dealing with security stuff can feel like being a kid. Do this because I said so, says somebody. Collide has a better idea. Tell your team why they need to take the security steps you need them to take. Not in a manual, not in a meeting, not in an email they're going to pretend they read. Collide sends employees important, timely, and relevant security recommendations for their Linux, Mac, and Windows devices right inside Slack. I work for myself, and I'm in Slack all the time. This is going to where your people are and bringing them along to make their work and your workplace more secure. It even works in bring your own device environments, but find out for yourself. Activate Collide's 14-day free trial. Visit collide.com/macOSKen to sign up today. That's KOLIDE, collide.com/macOSKen. Enter your email when prompted to receive your free Collide gift bundle after trial activation at KOLIDE, collide.com/macOSKen. We should, it seems, assume that Apple is not going to beat last year's numbers. In a normal year, you'd be looking at a tough compare, and this is very much not a normal year. Apple 3.0 writes up what Apple's up against, quoting that last year's astonishing June quarter growth of 36% in revenue and 100% in earnings per share is going to be tough to beat, and nobody I know thinks Apple is going to beat it. No analyst expects more than single-digit revenue growth, and all but one analyst expects earnings per share to shrink. Tough numbers in normal years, as I say, but this is not a normal year. What with the lockdowns in China that crimped supply in the first half, the ongoing war in Ukraine, and growing economic uncertainty. Apple telegraphed difficulty on the last earnings call, saying it was staring down the barrel of a $4 billion to $8 billion hit to revenue thanks to problems in the supply chain. The pros, followed by Apple 3.0, are looking for revenue to grow 3% year over year, iPhone revenue to drop nearly 5%, close to $2 billion down, iPad revenue to drop 4.5%, Mac revenue to rise 3.5%, and wearables revenue to grow 1.33%. The services category stands to be the shining star. Analysts followed by Apple 3.0 expect that category to pick up the $2 billion dropped by iPhone. They're looking for year-on-year revenue growth for services of 13.5%. While numbers for the last quarter will be informative, Wall Street is always listening for guidance/color going forward, and it'll be listening really hard today. Noting that the June quarter tends to be Apple's weakest anyway, a piece from CNBC says this year analysts and investors will be closely watching Apple's earnings in the face of many new macroeconomic trends, including declining consumer confidence, rising interest rates, and decades-high inflation. So far, the piece continues, Apple sales have remained strong, partially because its customers are a fairly well-off group, but any signs that people are putting off Mac and iPhone purchases because of inflation or recession fears could have implications for the whole economy. The same CNBC piece quotes a bunch of notes from analysts that I've quoted at you before. They include Deutsche Bank analyst Sidney Ho saying, "We believe the company has managed its supply chain better than it planned a quarter ago, while it continued to gain share in an otherwise difficult quarter for smartphones and PCs." Canaccord Genuity analyst T. Michael Walkley saying, "We anticipate improving iPad sales, in part due to improving supply, and believe Apple's $4 billion to $8 billion supply headwind commentary from the June quarter was more likely at the low end of the range." Stressing what Wall Street watches, Wells Fargo analyst Aaron Rakers is quoted saying, "We believe outlook demand commentary will be the key focus as we try to gauge the impact to Apple's earnings in the event of a slowing consumer macro environment." And the piece quotes Morgan Stanley analyst Katie Huberty's parting shot, saying Apple remains a best-of-breed consumer electronics company, able to invest through cycles, and with 60% plus of revenue more staples-like in nature, strong brand loyalty, and continued product services innovation, we believe it is better insulated relative to peers during a downturn. And now, we wait, though not for long. Apple earnings for the June quarter, the third quarter of fiscal year 2022, are due out today, Thursday, the 28th of July. Numbers for last quarter will hit Apple's site after the close of trading at 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. A bit later, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, Apple's CEO, its CFO, and a bunch of Wall Street worrywarts will do the conference call thing. You can hear that as it happens on Apple's investor site. Apple will make it available as a podcast soon after, and of course, we will do a recap here tomorrow. As interest rates set by the Federal Reserve go, so go the interest rates on your Apple Card. Mac Rumors ran an article Wednesday under the headline, "PSA, Apple Card's interest rate is rising as Fed battles inflation." According to that, as is common with most credit cards, the Apple Card's interest rate on overdue balances is steadily rising as the Federal Reserve continues to raise its benchmark overnight interest rate in an attempt to slow inflation in the U.S. In June, the card's variable APR was 11.74% to 22.74%, depending on creditworthiness. In July, those rose to between 12.49% and 23.49%. Owing to the Fed's 0.75 percentage point increase to its overnight rate in June. Yesterday, the Fed did it again. As day follows night, Mac Rumor says Apple Card's APR range will likely see another increase to 13.24% to 24.4% based on creditworthiness. The U.S. Senate will not vote on big tech reform before skipping town in August. Last week, says a piece from the Mac Observer, a Democratic caucus from the House of Representatives called on the Senate to vote on 2 big tech antitrust bills before it recesses for August. This week, not going to happen. The 2 pieces of legislation in question are the Open App Markets Act and the American Choice and Innovation Online Act. TMO says the first would require Apple to allow third-party software marketplaces for iPhone and iPad. The piece says the second would stop tech companies from favoring their own apps over third-party choices. Though he calls both pieces of legislation high priority, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is said to have told constituents Tuesday night that he does not think he has the 60 votes needed to pass the American Choice and Innovation Online Act. The Senate goes on recess next Friday, the 5th of August. It will reconvene the day after Labor Day, Tuesday, the 6th of September, when we will be humming a tune. While lawmakers may be off for a month, lawyers never rest. Apple Insider brings news of a new lawsuit against Apple in Portugal. Actually, the piece says both Apple and Google have been hit by class action complaints in Portugal, alleging that their 30% app marketplace commission rates are anti-competitive and excessive. Interestingly, the suit, brought by a law professor, argues not on behalf of developers, but on behalf of consumers. The piece says the complaints allege that Apple and Google have systematically acted in contravention of competition law by overcharging Portuguese consumers. If that sounds familiar, there are a few good reasons. The piece points out that Apple is facing similar pending lawsuits in the US, the UK, the Netherlands, and Australia. Apple Insider says the suit is seeking compensation for any person who purchased an app or piece of in-app content in the Portuguese version of the App Store and Google Play Store. If the suit is successful, the report says Apple could be on the hook for up to 100 million euros. The fourth betas of iOS, iPadOS, and tvOS 16, macOS 13, and watchOS 9 are out to developers. The Mac Observer says the latest seeds come 3 weeks after the previous builds, the longest wait between such builds since iOS 7 in 2013. That said, there is a pretty sizable change in the fourth betas around iMessage. During WWDC, Apple announced a couple of new features for its messaging service, the ability to edit messages, as well as the ability to unsend messages up to 15 minutes after the initial send. Within days, advocates for victims of domestic violence argued that both new features, as announced, could be detrimental to such victims. Now, a piece from 9to5Mac says the fourth betas shorten the length of time a message can be unsent from 15 minutes to 2. They also limit the number of times a message can be edited to 5. And, perhaps most importantly, 9to5Mac says each of the edits is logged and visible to both the sender and the receiver of the iMessage. While Apple has not directly addressed the topic, the report says the changes are clearly targeted at those concerns. More news in a moment, but first a word from Upstart. Fair and fast personal loans. Nobody expects the unexpected bill or expense. That's why they call them unexpected. When they hit, though, they can hit hard. They can feel like the weight of the world is landing on you. Help is available with Upstart. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal expenses, Upstart can help you get one fixed monthly payment with a clear payoff date. They look at more than just your credit score, factoring in income, employment, and other information provided in your loan application to find you a smarter rate for your loan. And the whole thing happens online. You can check your rate in minutes for loans between $1,000 to $50,000 without impacting your credit score, and you can receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. Don't wait and check your rate today at upstart.com/macOSken. UPSTART. That's upstart.com/macOSken to check your rate today. Don't forget to use my URL to let them know I sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/macOSken. It took a few days, but there's movement again on that pre-Apple One computer that's up for auction. This is the busted demo unit that Apple co-founder Steve Jobs used to interest the bike shop in the machine, sealing a deal that would start Apple's trip to the stratosphere. Last weekend, bidding moved from just under $130,000 to just over $278,000. After 48 hours of inactivity, it's made another jump. Bidding now stands at just over $407,000. The auction ends on the 18th of August. You thinking $1 million? I'm thinking maybe $1 million. A star from the car world is punching the clock in Cupertino. 9to5Mac says Apple has hired Luigi Taraborrelli, a 20-year veteran of the Italian car company Lamborghini. It's a hire that may get people off the idea that all Apple's working on is software. Having served most recently as Lamborghini's head of chassis and vehicle dynamics, the piece says his responsibilities included chassis concept development, car characteristic, overall vehicle lap time performances, vehicle dynamics targets, handling and ride characteristic, suspension elastokinematics, car objectivation, virtual simulation, software coding and in-vehicle software parametrization and calibration activities, functional safety, and product liability. You know the percentage of terms I understood in that? Sounds pretty exciting. The piece says Taraborrelli will be one of the most senior managers on Apple's car project. He is expected to help lead the design of Apple Car, according to the report. Apple has picked up a sizable piece of real estate in San Diego. Cult of Mac says the Cupertino company has bought a 67-acre corporate center in the city for a new campus. What's the plan? Well, the cult thinks it might involve Apple's wireless modem push. The piece points out that chipmaker Qualcomm is headquartered in San Diego. Poaching a person or two might not be off the table. The 800,000-plus square foot complex reportedly cost the company $445 million. Whatever the plan, Apple is not tipping its hand. The report has the company simply saying, "We've been part of the community in San Diego for more than 2 decades and are thrilled to continue investing here as we expand our world-class teams." And finally today, Apple TV Plus is ramping up the PR machine for a decidedly dark comedy. How dark? So dark that I wouldn't know to call it a comedy if the latest press release didn't say so. That release teases Bad Sisters, the first title for Apple from Emmy Award nominee and BAFTA award-winning creator and star Sharon Horgan. Describing the show, Apple says the tight-knit Garvey sisters have always looked out for each other. When their brother-in-law winds up dead, his life insurers launch an investigation to prove malicious intent and set their sights on the sisters, all of whom had ample reason to kill him. Emphasis, it seems, on dark comedy. The first 2 episodes hit Apple TV Plus on Friday, the 19th of August. They'll run one per week after that through Friday, the 14th of October. If you want to get a feel for the show, you can catch the first Bad Sisters trailer on YouTube. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Collide, endpoint security powered by people. Learn more and try it for free at KOLIDE collide.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Upstart, fair and fast personal loans. Learn more and check your rate at upstart.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.